Welcome to the Worldwide Golf Insider Podcast. Hello, everyone. Tom Brassell here. Thanks so much for joining us. We say it every time. If you're a first-timer or a long-timer, or maybe you're in the middle somewhere, it doesn't matter. We're just glad that you made us a part of your day. If you've been a part of our 410 previous episodes, you know that every time we talk about specifics with golf clubs, we always talk about the importance of fitting. We say it, we preach it over and over again. Those golf clubs that you buy today are going to be better than what you have, certainly, but they're not going to perform to its best without being custom fit. Today, this is something new. We're going to take this to the next level with regards to fitting. Our two guests today join us from out in Scottsdale, Arizona, I believe. Scottsdale, right? Mark
Sure.
Timms and Jack Gilbert from Cool Clubs. Thanks so much for joining us. Mark, CEO and founder, Jack, Creative Projects Manager. Mark, we first met a couple of years ago at the PGA Merchandise Show, and I was just awash with the data you were bringing to us and the information you were giving us. Tell us how it all got started, because obviously we all fell in love with this game of golf one day when somebody put a club in our hand, but somehow you found the love of not only the game but of data and accumulating data and how that can make golfers better. Talk about that.
Yeah, well, I've always liked building stuff. So, I started working for a bank when I got out of school and stuff, and did that for a few years, which was a great education. But always had a passion for golf and like to help people. So, opened my first store in Connecticut actually in 1990. So since then, I had that store for 10 years. Came out to Scottsdale because I don't like the cold. And in 2000 and started Hot Sticks, and then again Cool Clubs in 2007. Eventually we bought back Hot Sticks, so they all kind of came back together again at some point.
When I was Jack, you're too young to remember this, but when I was getting into the game, you bought the clubs and it was all in one bag. It was a driver 3-wood, 4-wood back then,
Right.
2-through wedge, and you bought your sand wedge extra and all that. The only thing we knew about custom was, you had a swing weight, you had a flex, and along the line, somewhere down the road came a loft and line machine. Talk about, Jack, how did you get involved with Mark? And because this is really something that we preach about all the time, but this is something really taking it to the next level.
Yeah, I mean, little do people know that, and I'm going to embarrass Mark here, but Mark really is the godfather of club fitting. As much as it might make him feel old that he's been doing it forever, like he is the guy that's kept this industry not only going but keep reinventing it, and all those little metrics you talk about, being able to expand them and keep pushing the needle on being able to fine tune and refine and get better answers and better results. So first of all, I want to shout out to Mark because he's influenced me many ways of being in this. But mine was coming off the back of being a player and playing some college golf, ironically over in North Carolina, even though I hailed from England originally. I wrapped that up and I wanted to stay involved in the golf industry. And I think, you've hit a wall and realized, not all of you can be professional PGA Tour players. And I'm really technical. My dad's an engineer. I've got that in my blood. And I started building clubs for a company in London back in 2009. And that rolled on to working and actually building Cool Clubs up as a partner with Mark in Australia in the end of 2012, beginning of 2013. And that all washed out to actually come and work in side by side with Mark in 2021. So we've had a relationship for quite a long time now, and an inspiration to just keep pushing this needle harder and harder and helping everyone play their best golf.
Yeah, from my perspective, there's two parts of it. There's one is gathering all this data on anything to do with the club, your launch angle, your spin rates, everything goes with that, shafts, everything, and then also taking that data and applying it to the people that come in and want to be custom fit. Mark, tell us how much data? Certainly, you've got tons of data. How much data do you have? The history of it, and how do you work that in day to day when you're dealing with customers?
Well, we have tons at this point. We have over a couple of billion data points for shafts alone, and obviously, hundreds of thousands of shots with robots and robot data on heads and MOI and a bunch of things. But really, the way it came around is, I came out to Arizona in 2000 to start Hot Sticks. And, it's a pretty large store compared to what I was in Connecticut. And, me and a couple of guys, and, the guys would ask me, when you're doing a fitting, this guy's swinging 105, take a look at his swing, see what shaft he wants. And I'd say, okay, we'll give him this, speeder 757, and tip it half an inch, right? And then somebody else asked the same question, and I might say it's a quarter inch. But, over time, when I wasn't there, they didn't know which clubs to grab or which ones to look at. So we started testing all the shafts to find out what they all were. And then through the years, we've kind of perfected some algorithms and stuff. So, depending on how you swing and how you load the club, what shafts work. And in order to do that, you need data on all these things, right? So way back when we had hot sticks, we actually had like 6 or 7 different machines. It took us about a half an hour to measure one shaft. Then when we got to cool clubs, obviously the next generation of that was our S3 machine. So that we just stick a shaft in and basically turn it on. In 2 minutes, it kicks out 100,000 pieces of data, which basically tells us everything you want to know about the shaft: how high it launches, what the torque is, the bend profile, the EI curve, just a lot of information. So the question is, what do we do with all that? And then we started working on software to kind of recommend clubs and just help the fitters, right? There's just so many products out there, and it's really hard to keep up on it. If you look at Fuji's site, they say the torque is whatever, 2.5. Mitsubishi says the same shaft is 2.7. They're all using different machines. So we need an apples to way to compare all these shafts and kind of recommend which ones work for what.
You mentioned S3. Jack, you mind diving into that rabbit hole a little bit and just how valuable, if there's an MVP in the industry, S3's got to be right up there on the Mount Rushmore of tools that you can use. But talk about that for a bit.
S3 is a shaft simulation system, 3 S's, right? And really evolved as we become a part of worldwide golf. We're really branching cool clubs in 2 different areas. There's the fitting side you see, you walk into a store and it's experiential. And then there's a really hardcore side of R&D behind the scenes. So the S3 machine is just one machine and one, data capturing point of a lot of things that we have in there. And just like our fitting side, it's about the people, right? It's about Mark, myself, Dr. Tom Mace, Glenn, our engineers, people that kind of keep those wheels turning. And, capturing data on golf shafts from an apples to apples perspective, it kind of maybe seems obvious that's what should be done, but that's just not what's been done in the industry. This machine has revolutionized it, and it's only version 1. We're actually kind of pushing towards, how do we get more data on golf shafts? How do we make it more applicable to humans going forward? And we'll, watch that space. But marrying that with a room that we've got over there, which you'll see if you head to our YouTube channel, Cool Clubs, with the golf robot in it. I mean, although that's not S3 by verbiage, it is part of that research and development space that allows us to kind of get head data, get shaft data, put that together with a group of minds and get a bunch of empirical evidence from the fitters on the other side of the building, have great conversations that allow us to produce better results than anyone else during that fitting process.
Yeah, you mentioned the other side of the building. Talk about the building. Talk about what goes on there in Scottsdale, because you're not only there, you can do outdoor fittings, you can do indoor fittings, but you do have all your research there that you're gathering, which never stops, right? Because we're always going to have new clubs, we're always going to have new shafts, and we got to gather that data on it. And like you said, Mark, we're not taking anybody's word for it. We're going to do it ourselves. But talk about what goes on out there.
You want to take it?
Sure. So Scottsdale's our headquarters, obviously. We're in a 15,000 square foot building, which houses, about half of that is our retail store. Then we have our smaller bill department, which is a tour stuff and expedited orders, and then we have a larger bill station.
They're always calling. Somebody's always wanting to get better at this game, right? Yeah.
Anyway, so we have all our build stations there. So we have about a 6,000 square foot building facility and another smaller one. Basically it's you're trying to give the fitters all the information and all the equipment they need to do the best job fitting. And that means, we build our own loft and line machines, which if you go on the PGA Tour trucks, you'll see a lot of our machines. We build our own frequency machines. We build actually the benches, we build pretty much everything from scratch because we just couldn't find the right ones on the market. And, you give your fitters all the right equipment and all the right information so they know what the difference is in all these different shafts and heads. They do a pretty good job. That and a bunch of experience. We probably have the most experienced group of fitters in a planet, right? Most of the guys have been here 10 years and some 20, so, that's part of it. We rely heavily on how good our fitters are is a big part of why we're successful, but, they're successful too because we give them all the information to be successful.
And let me jump on the fitting environments, Tom. This is our flagship. This is headquarters. So this incorporates, like Mark said, build shop, indoor fitting. We have outdoor locations too in Arizona, right. Within Scottsdale, essentially. And then that kind of the build shop allows us to build to a tour level. Anything you see those tour players and you see all these crazy specs about grinding this and hot melt that and tipped, cut, rebalanced, like everything you can imagine there is what we're offering to the everyday consumer. And we really are in that tour experience space. Worldwide Golf is allowing us to expand those options. I mean, I can't go too deep into that today, but that's coming. And we've got satellite locations. So all of the data that Mark talked about, all of the experience that kind of spreads its tentacles across the country right now in other tour fitting locations. Irvine, we've got an outdoor location. San Fran, we've got a location. We've got Florida. It's getting bigger and bigger.
Mark, on your website, you talk about good, better, and best. You can fill any one of those. Touch on that a little bit. That's a great philosophy, and I guess somebody can get as deep into this as they like, right?
Yeah, and all the really high end stuff. It's not for everybody. If you're a 25 handicap, you can order just the clubs from the manufacturers. Callaway, TaylorMade, Titleist do a pretty decent job. So it depends on your level, right? So if you're just buying clubs that we're having somebody else build, for the same price as a PJ Superstore or Worldwide if you own one of their stores for standard equipment. Better is obviously, we've got aftermarket shafts. We build them to much tighter tolerances. Basically, the difference is, manufacturers, have stiff, regular, and X. Well, we have 10 different stiffs and 10 different regulars and 10 different X's. So we slice it up much more precisely. We've got 150 tour players in our database, at least. Probably that was a couple of years ago. It's probably more. But we also got 25 handicaps that just want to get better. And if you're an avid golfer, some of these exotic shafts and lighter weight stuff, they do help, and they're more expensive, but it's definitely worth it. If you're a casual golfer and play occasionally, get the right clubs makes it more fun. So, from every level, it's important. But we want to give the client the option, right? So, there's kind of a law of diminishing returns too. You get a lot more expensive for shafts, and they get better. They don't double or triple how far you hit it or anything, but they definitely improve. But it's for everybody. So we have to offer different levels of things.
I saw on the site that 59% of the people who've been fit through Cool Clubs, you can correct me if I was wrong, experience 6 to 10 yards of distance gained. 17%, 11 to 20. That's 76% of the people that took the time to get fit through Cool Clubs are going to see anywhere from, I don't know, a half to 3 clubs better as far as distance goes. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's a fitting thing, really, right?
Yeah. I mean, we robot testing now, and we're actually doing something fun right now. We're kind of getting concurrent drivers with 3 or 4 year ago drivers and putting them head to head with each other, just as an example here. And we're not seeing 10-yard gains out of the center or anything like that. But what we are seeing in the industry is like misstruck shots are becoming much, much better, and dialing in the these CG locations of these new drivers, and the ability to dial loft and lie and swing the weights around. It's like our fitters have to learn that going out the gate for all the brands. How does a consumer go in there and understand what's going to work perfectly for them? Like the chances of you buying a driver off the rack and having it optimized and changing those weights can give you that 7 yards or whatever is almost like zero option for that to happen off the rack. So coming, seeing our people and, be guided through that experience and, map your existing product and say, hey, this is where you're at. Go through that trial and error process guided by technology, dialing it in. Like, it's not as hard as you think to get the gains that you want with good information.
Yeah, and the difference between the last year's club and this year's club, I mean, it's a yard or a half a yard and stuff. If it really was the 10 yards the manufacturers talk about, we'd all be hitting at 600 yards by now. Really not the case. And, the manufacturers sort of realized this, a while ago, right? So I remember going to the golf show probably 7, 8 years ago now. And, companies were kind of, against us building the clubs and, selling us components and parts and stuff like that. But, that all shifted about 7, 8 years ago because essentially the manufacturer realized, that the difference between this year's driver and last year's driver is a yard or so. But the difference between a club that's fit, even just, as Jack mentioned, just messing with the settings on the driver could be 10, 15 yards. And that's really the trick, is to dial it in to get, to your current swing. And even though that might be dialed in this year, over time, people's swings change. I mean, I swing 95 miles an hour. At one point, I swung 125 miles an hour. I don't need the same club. So as you change, year to year, what I tell people is at least look at your driver once a year. Probably only need to change it every 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And you should probably look at your irons and fairwoods and hybrids every 5 years as technology changes, because they wear out and your swing changes. So that's really it. It's just matching the clubs to your swing, and that's the real trick.
Tom, I'd love to jump in and
go ahead. Yeah.
Take a little like myth dispeller. Hopefully, people out there listening love the equipment. Right. Let me rant for a couple of seconds on. Mark just touched on it. Every driver, we see 1 or 2 yard gains. There's gains, absolutely. There's gains. These guys don't spend millions of dollars on research and development not to improve. But as Mark said, it's the data and the fitting and the expertise that really milk every yard you can out of that player. All of the best drivers out there, all these mainstream drivers, even some of the what people would consider second or third tier drivers, are excellent.
Right.
There is no standout driver that is like, if you don't buy this one, you're missing out. And I think that's a big storyline in the industry. This is the best one. It's really not that. They're all awesome. But there's absolutely drivers that will have attributes that suit me better than Mark, better than you, better than the next guy that comes in the door. And finding someone that can hone in on that for you is absolutely the most imperative thing to do. It's not picking the best brand, it's picking the one that works for your attributes. And that goes the same for golf shafts. I think golf shafts get a bad rap for like expensive golf shafts. Why are you spending $400? Mark touched on that earlier. You don't need to spend $400 on a golf shaft to have a good experience. But what it does is it guarantees that when you pick up a batch of golf shafts, there's variances. If you hit one good and you hit it well consistently, lock it in, take it home. That's the one, like, done.
Exactly.
But if you're having something custom made and you're picking from a batch of cheap golf shafts to expensive golf shafts, absolutely there is a difference between what the builder is able to do with the expensive stuff versus the cheap stuff in terms of replicating what you felt during your fitting. And that's what you're paying for. You're paying for the guarantee to get what you experienced during your fit.
Yeah, myth busters, right? The biggest myth out there. I'm not good enough to be fit. I don't replicate my swing well enough to be fit. Truth lies, you're exactly the person that needs to come in and get fit, correct?
Yeah, that's 100% true. People say, I'm not good enough to get club fitting and stuff. And I say, that's absolutely not correct. I would much rather see an 18 handicap. I could probably help 3 or 4 shots easily. The higher the handicap, the more we can lower your score. 100%.
Yeah.
We get tour players in here. We're trying to shave off a quarter shot a round. We're trying to look for, the gnat's ass to try and figure out, if we can get an extra yard here or fix something there. It's a really small thing, and it's not that different, right? But for the higher handicap, you get clubs that help and fix, some of their swing faults, which they're not going to get rid of. It's hard to do. Like I said, I like helping people, and golf clubs are an easy way to help people. Teaching them is hard. I got to know a lot of instructors and stuff. They are saints, because that job is really hard and confusing and not very data driven, and it drives me crazy. And it's getting there, but it's still a long ways off. But giving them the right golf club, instantly it fixes their 30-yard slice into a 10-yard slice, or the fact they hit it too low to hitting it higher in the air and carrying it 10 more yards.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy, right?
You have the best analogy, I think. When I first met you were like, that's one of the biggest challenges to overcome, to just get yourself in the door of a fitting, at any level of the game. And you're like, would you rather get 10% better as a 20 handicap, or 10% better as a 1 handicap? And there's obviously simple math there that means I'm going to lose more strokes at this end of the game.
Yeah, it's 4 shots or a rounding error on your handicap index, right?
Yeah.
It's like somebody that wants to lose weight, but they don't want to look at the scale, right? you gotta have something to measure.
Right.
Mark, you brought up earlier, and it's on here on the screen, we are Worldwide Golf, and you are Worldwide Golf. You're a part of the Worldwide Golf family now for about 18, 19 months or something like that. Share with our viewers and listeners about that? Because that's a great, I think, is a fantastic marriage. And where it might go, we don't know. We can't say. But talk about what's so far and being a part of the Worldwide Golf family.
Super exciting for me, to be honest. I've run my own business for some 30 years now. And, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of financial stuff, and a lot of things that lead me in different directions that I don't get time to do. The projects that really help push us forward and stuff. And I'm slowly getting rid of a lot of those things, so I've got a lot more time to spend on software, new machines, things that help us overall. But what excites me the most is I've spent the last 35 years of my life really helping the top 1 or 2% of golfers, right? They're the tour players or the wealthy guys that play all the time, that can afford all this stuff. And I really want to help everybody. And what Worldwide Golf gives me is that reach to be able to help every golfer. Whether it's they're buying new clubs in a Cool Clubs Bay, or they're going online and getting stuff from Global Golf that's used and stuff. As we can direct people to get the right clubs, even if it's a used club at some point in time, we can help them play better. So I get to help a lot more people, which is really, really exciting for me.
And Jack, being creative projects manager, new content, all the stuff you're looking to put in front of people. First of all, I told you off the air, your website is fantastic. Everybody go to coolclubs.com. It's a wealth of information, some great videos there. But talk about what it means to you, Jack, to be a part of this family.
Yeah, one of my roles is in my projects is marketing, right? I dived into this and again, embarrass Mark, touch back on it. Prior to the Worldwide Golf acquisition of Cool Clubs, we didn't have a marketing department. And, that can be seen as a bad thing, but really it's a testament to what the business was doing, because our clients were coming from client referrals, or they were previous clients shopping with us again and just constantly coming back. And that just says that Mark's been doing it right for a very long time and getting results for a very long time. And now, I think part of the allure to the Worldwide Golf side is that we're able to share that knowledge, share that experience, get people better results more often, and start letting that wash down to the average golfer. Like Mark says, him and I have been in this niche industry for a while, and we're getting our eyes open to what does it look like at a retail level when someone's purchasing a golf club, and how do we actually help those people? And it's different versions of our software. It's changing the way we talk about this. And one of the ways we do that is through our YouTube channel. And obviously, being a part of Worldwide Golf, you probably see clips and bits and pieces of it all under different brand names. But if you go to Cool Clubs YouTube, our boots on the ground, our core message is to become a safe place to go and explore golf equipment, see real data, hear us talking about it from a level of truth and honesty, and just saying, look, this is what this golf club does. Think about that relative to your game. And hopefully that helps you buy a better piece of equipment, whether you're walking into a Roger Dunn or whether you're going to have an absolute tour level experience. Think about it the right way for your personal game. And I really think we're trying to build a relationship with our audience to trust what we're up to is coming from the heart, coming from the right place. And we just want people across the country to actually purchase golf equipment that helps them enjoy the game more. We want to be in golf forever. We don't want the bubble to burst. We want people to play this and enjoy it for as long as possible.
Gentlemen, we could go on for hours. I love this. This is some really cool stuff, Cool Clubs. How about some final words for our listeners and viewers? I'll let you guys close us out here.
I think you put it the right way. Whether you're a scratch player or a 30 handicap, getting fitted really does make a difference. So, I just encourage everybody to go do it and play better golf.
Jack, from you?
I want to harp, Scott Perry, we'll give him a shout out. He's a great guy. He really understands what people are thinking. I think we're here to harp on that word trust. We want to become the trusted place. So, listen to a bit of our content, go and research. We put we're kind of like OpenAI. Everything we're doing right now, we're throwing that content out there and just letting people do what they want with it, because it's just more power is in information and knowledge. So just trust us. Trust that our staff, from the store level through to the fitting experience, are out for your best interests. And shop with Worldwide Golf and have confidence in what you're doing and trust the process.
Mark Timms, Jack Gilbert, thanks so much for carving the time out. This has been long overdue, and we're going to do it again down the road and dive in a little deeper if you guys don't mind. But I had a great time, and thanks so much for taking the time.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
Excellent.